Hello, welcome to today's edition of the Daf Yomi Masechet Nazir Daf 3a. So I'm just going to give a quick study guide on the concept of becoming a Nazir. A Nazir is a person who takes vows to abstain from certain things such as wine, grapes, haircuts, and contact with the dead. There are specific phrases and words that can be used to take on a vow of a Nazir. For example, saying "I will be" a year can indicate a Nazir vow, especially if a Nazir is passing by at the time. The Gemara debates the meaning of various phrases that might be related to becoming a Nazir, considering the possible connections to hair, Torah study, or supporting the poor. The act of becoming a Nazir is considered by some to be a sin, as it involves adding restrictions beyond what the Torah requires, whereby Elazar Hakapa believes that only a Nazir who becomes ritually impure is considered a sinner, because they have to extend their period of Naziriteship, which might lead them to transgress their vow. There are different opinions on whether a person can become a Nazir by vowing to abstain from only some of the prohibited things. Rabbi Shimon argued that a person must vow to abstain from all the prohibited things to become a Nazir. The rabbis, on the other hand, believe that a person can become a Nazir even if they only vow to abstain from one of the prohibited things, such as wine and strong drink. The sources offer a detailed exploration of the concept of becoming a Nazir, examining the specific phrases and words that can be used to take on the vow, the potential interpretation of those phrases, and the different opinions on the validity of partial Nazir vows. The Gemara uses various methods, including scriptural analysis, analogies, and discussions of human behavior to clarify the concept and its practical implications. A quick summary. The provided sources explain the complexity of Jewish law of Naziriteship, a temporary vow of abstinence, through a close analysis of the Mishnah and the Gemara. The discussion centers around the question of how specific language and actions like holding one's hair while declaring oneself beautiful can be interpreted as taking a vow to become Nazir. The text explores various interpretation arguments within the Gemara, highlighting the importance of context, action, and the potential for misunderstanding and interpreting vows. The sources also examine the question of whether Naziriteship is a sin and delve into the nature of hidden mitzvah, the beautification of a mitzvah, and its impact on the mitzvah itself. Okay, so that's the overall study guide of what we're going to talk about today. Let's dive straight in. So, the Gemara answers. So, the question from the previous daf was, the Gemara asks, since the Naziriteship is a matter of transgression, can we say that about a Nazirite that he's beautiful? The Gemara answers, yes, as even according to Rabbi Elazar Hakapa, who said that a Nazirite is a sinner, that applies only with regard to a richly impure Nazirite. So what does that mean? So going to the footnote, the commentators point out that this appears to contradict the Gemara in 19a that states that according to Rabbi Elazar Hakapa, even a pure Nazirite is a sinner. The answer that although the pure Nazirite is considered a sinner to a certain extent because of the discomfort he causes himself by abstaining from wine, the mitzvah of Naziriteship and its sanctity nevertheless override this sin, and therefore can be called beautiful. See Tosfot on 2b. Rabbeinu Todros cited in Shittim Mekubeses attributes a similar opinion to Rabbeinu Tam. Among other possibilities, is suggested in the Meiri that this might be one of those variant Talmudic discussions, in which the opinion of the Gemara is not consistent, especially as Tractate Nedarim and Tractate Nazir differ from other tractates in many ways. This is because it is necessary for him to void the date of his vow that had been observed and to begin his term anew, as the Mitzvah one states in the Torah, but the first days will be void because his consecration was defiled, Numbers 6:12. It is there that Rabbi Elazar Hakapa called the Nazirite a sinner, because perhaps he will come to transgress his Naziriteship now, and he is a Nazir for a longer period than he originally intended. So what's the footnote there? Dilma Asai de Ma'ava. Is that? Ma'ava v'chulim. Perhaps he will come to transgress, etc. The Gemara later in the tractate 19a explains that an impure Nazirite is considered a sinner because by becoming impure he is forced to undergo a second period of Naziriteship, and thereby repeat his initial sin of becoming a Nazirite. The Gemara here does not cite this reason because the reason assumes that Nazarite is inherently sinful, whereas that is not the opinion of the Gemara here, and that's from the Rabbeinu Azriel, cited in Shita Mechabes. It is explained in the commentary on Nazir that an impure Nazarite is called a sinner because he might regret his vow over the course of time. Regret is the basis for dissolving a vow, and therefore, since there was basis for dissolving his Nazarite vow, when the Nazarite brings his offering at the conclusion of his term of Nazariteship, it is somewhat similar to sanctifying non-consecrated animals in the temple. And the commentators maintain that there are two separate reasons why an impure Nazarite is called a sinner, both of which relate to the fact that he must begin his term of Nazariteship anew. He might come to transgress his vow due to the anticipated length of time he is taking to complete it, and alternatively he might regret his vow and bring offerings that are similar to the sacrifice of non-sacred animals, and that's from the Rosh. His Nazariteship, now that he is a Nazarite for a longer period than he originally intended. However, with regard to a originally pure Nazarite, Rabbi Elazar HaKappa does not call him a sinner. One who undertakes a vow of Nazariteship as an act of dedication to God is considered holy and praiseworthy. Rambam Sefer Fla Hilchet Nazirut 10:14. The Mishnah taught that one who says, "I am hereby like this," Hareini Kazeh. If one said, "I am hereby like this," as a Nazarite passed before him, he's a Nazarite, as stated by Shmuel, and that's Rambam Sefer Fla Hilchet Nazirut 2:4. Is a Nazarite. The Gemara asks, though this is indeed a case where he is holding his hair at the time, since he did not say, "I am hereby like this," Hareini Kizer La'ama, many early commentators found this statement puzzling, as the Mishnah explicitly states that he said, "I am hereby like this." For this reason, Tosfot dismissed this version of the text as a scribal error and cited an alternate version which reads, "He did not say, 'I am hereby a Nazarite.'" The Rosh and Rabbeinu Azriel hold that the correct version of the text states, although this is a case where he was holding his hair at the time. He did not say anything that indicated a Nazarite vow. Another version of the text is cited by Rabbi Abraham ben Hahar. He did not say, "I am hereby in this." According to this version, had he said, "I am hereby in this," while holding his hair, his statement would have been interpreted to mean, "I am hereby a Nazarite in regard to this hair I'm holding." It is therefore considered an intimation of Nazarite vow which is binding. This is the version of the text that is recorded by the author of the Mishnah in the Mishnah Lamelech, and it appears in some older editions of the Talmud. How can this statement constitute an acceptance of Nazarite? Shmuel said, it is a case when a Nazarite was passing before him. Tosfot explained that according to this answer, since one said, "I am hereby like this," even when a Nazarite passed before him, he becomes a Nazarite even if he was not holding his hair when he made the statement. The Rosh wonders why it was necessary to mention a statement such as this constitutes a Nazarite vow. He explains that one might have thought that the individual meant to say that he is like a Nazarite with regard to beauty or wisdom rather than Nazariteship. Therefore, it was necessary for the Mishnah to state and this constitutes a Nazarite vow. The Meiri explains that the novelty is not that this statement constitutes a Nazarite vow, but that if one says only "I am hereby," he is not considered a Nazarite, even if a Nazarite is walking by at that moment. Before him, when he made his statement, his intention was to declare himself a Nazarite, like the individual passing before him, and his statement therefore constitutes a Nazarite vow. The Mishnah rules that one who says, "I am hereby a hair curler," is a Nazarite. The Gemara asks, from where is it known that this term is referring to the curling, sisul? What's sisul, curling? Sisul, although this word is found in the Bible, its primary meaning is unclear. Some claim that it refers mainly to raising or elevating, as this is one of the meanings of the root Samech Lamed Lamed. This is plausible based on the continuation of the verse in Proverbs cited in the Gemara, and this is how it is explained by several commentaries. The term also has a connotation of decorating or beautifying, which could mean its meaning both in in the verse in Proverbs and in the Gemara here. Sisal also means making things round, perhaps like the words sal and sala, which both mean basket. This meaning can also pertain to styling hair by allowing it to grow. The Gemara answers, as that maid servant in the house of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. What does that mean? He answered the very Rabbi, that maid servant in the house of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. The maid servant of the house of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is mentioned here and in several other contexts, because she used the purest, most ancient form of the Hebrew language, including words that the sages themselves are no longer familiar with. It seems that she was no ordinary servant and was possibly even raised among the family of the Nasi. The conduct and the witty, wise manner of speech which she would employ are recounted in the Gemara. It appears that she may have served as Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's housekeeper. Said to a certain man who grew his hair long, until when will you curl, masalsel, your hair? This shows that masalsel means to grow hair. The Gemara suggests, say that the word masalsel is referring to the study of Torah, as it is written with regard to Torah, extol her, saleha, and she will exalt you. See in the Hebrew, saleha, Proverbs 4:8. The Gemara responds that Shmuel said, here too, the case of where he was holding his hair at the time of his pronouncement. They only come to explain that the terms Masalsa and Mahalkel are insufficient when said alone, even if a Nazarite was fasting before him, since these words do not on their own indicate Nazariteship, and that's in the Rosh Rabbeinu Azriel cited in the Meiri. These statements are reflected only if one was holding his head at the time. Conversely, the explanation of the Shita Mechubeset is that the Gemara could have said that this is a situation where a Nazarite was passing in front of him, but it preferred to explain the Mishnah as referring to the simpler case of one who was holding his hair. The Mishnah rules that one who says, I'm hereby growing my hair, is a Nazarite. The Gemara asks, from where is it known that this term is referring to growing, kilkul his hair? So what's the term kilkul? This word is found in several places in the Mishnah. In Syriac, it means a full head of hair. Its precise definition in the Mishnah is hair growing on the temples. The word kilkul is also used to describe excessive hair growth on different parts of the body. See Nida 52b. And the Gemara answers, as we learned in the Mishnah, Shabbat 78b, with regard to the measure that determines liability for carrying out lime on Shabbat from a private to a public domain, Rabbi Yehuda says the measure is equivalent to that which is used to spread on one's kilkul. What does that mean? The sword to spread. For many generations, women have considered body hair an aesthetic blemish and have used different methods to remove it. One method employed mostly by women who could not afford expensive materials was to dissolve the hair by plastering the specific area with lime found in chalk deposits. One needed to be particularly careful about this treatment since the lime could cause serious burns on the skin. In a few cases described in the Talmud, it even caused fatal injuries. And there's a picture here in the Kohen Gemara, which I'm using as Shalosh Cells, page 15, of a chalk deposit in the Negev. And Rav said, this is referring to the hair that grows on the areas beneath the temple. Tosfot on Nida 52b cites a different version of the Gemara, which states the temple on the areas beneath the temple. The version of the text is consistent with the Gemara in Shabbat 80b, where Rav says that kilkul is referring to the hair on the temple itself. According to this understanding, the phrase the areas beneath the temple is not the definition of the word kilkul, and it is cited here only because it appears in that passage in Shabbat. In addition to the word kilkul, and that's from the Or Mishur. The Gemara suggests, since he vowed to sustain the poor as it is written, and Joseph sustained Hakel his father and his brethren in Genesis 47:12, and the Gemara responds that Shmuel says here too in the Mishnah, the case is one where the individual is holding his hair. So what's the footnote there? Shetafum bish'aro. If one said, I am hereby a hair curler, or I am hereby growing my hair, or it is hereby incumbent upon me to grow long hair. And when he made this statement, he was holding his hair and intended for it to become a Nazarite. His statement is considered a Nazarite vow, and that's in the Ram Sefer Flor, Nazir 1:6, when he made his pronouncement, so that it was clear that he was referring to growing his hair. The Mishnah rules that with regard to one who says, "It is incumbent upon me to grow," the shall, let's see that in the Hebrew, the shaleach, long hair, he's a Nazarite. The Gemara asks, from where is it known that the term shalua, which is different, with a different form of the word the shaleah, is an expression of increase and growth? The Gemara answers, it is written, your tresses Shalachayich are a part of pomegranate, Song of Songs, 4:13. So what's the footnote? Shalach Chayich Pardes Rimonim. See commentary on Nazir. Rabbi Abraham Minhahar explains, citing Rashi, that the verse should be understood as follows: the hair that grows on your head are like an orchard of pomegranates. The Gemara suggests, say there is referring to a matter involving transfer. What's the footnote there? It explained in the commentary on Nazir that according to the conclusion of the Gemara, even if Shalua means transfer, the phrase it is incumbent upon me leshalea long hair. What was the word before? Leshalea. It is still understood as referring to Nazariteship. The individual is understood to be saying, it is incumbent upon me to remove the long hair from my head after going in for 30 days of Nazireship, as it is written, and sends Shaloah water upon the earth. Job 5:10, where the word Shaloach is referring to the transport of water from one place to another. Here too, the individual taking the vow might mean that he intends to transfer, i.e. remove his hair. The Gemara answers, the Tana etc. The Tana explain that this is not a reference to the Tana of the Mishnah here, but rather to the Tana recited in Sanhedrin 22b, who states that a priest must cut his hair every 30 days. The Gemara there explains that this is because 30 days growth is considered long locks, as derived from the verbal analogy based on the verse concerning a priest and the one pertaining to a Nazarite. The Gemara here also cites this verbal analogy as proof of the meaning of the term shaluach. However, the Rosh maintains that the Gemara here is referring to the Tana of the Mishnah here, who derived from the verbal analogy that just as the term Shalua in the context of priest is referring to growing long hair, so too with regard to a Nazarite. Derives the meaning of this term based upon a verbal analogy of the term long locks, para, written with regard to a Nazarite, and the term long locks, para, with regard to a priest. It is written here with regard to a Nazarite, he shall be holy, he shall let the hair of his head grow, gadel long locks, para, Numbers 6:5, as it is written there with regard to a common priest serving in the temple, and they will not let their long locks grow long. Para lo yishalehu. Ezekiel 44:20. Just as the word para with regard to a Nazarite indicates growing long hair, so too in the case of a priest is referring to growing long hair. This proves that the term shalua means letting one's hair grow. The Gemara offers an alternate answer. If you wish, say the meaning of the word shaloach in that phrase, sends shaloah water, is also increase in growth, as Rav Yosef translated. B'dim Targum Rav Yosef, the early commentaries prove that the Aramaic translation of the Book of Job existed already in the time of the Tanaim. See Tosfos on Shabbos 115b. Consequently, Rav Yosef is not the author of the translation, and the statement is attributed to him because he would often cite it. The Maharas Hayut notes that the Aramaic translation that is currently extant does not render the verse in the manner cited here in the Gemara. It is therefore possible that this was actually Rav Yosef's own translation. This verse into Aramaic in the following manner: when the one waters produce, the Chamaskin lay Maya Bacholo. Tosfos points out that even if the verse in Job is explained as referring to growth, usually meaning the word shalua, when it appears in the Torah, is transfer rather than growth. See Deuteronomy 22:7. They explain that the Gemara's question is, perhaps there is no source at all that the word could mean growth, and the verse in some songs should be understood differently. For this reason, the Gemara demonstrates the verse in Job may be understood to use this word to mean growth. Consequently, it is reasonable to assume that when an individual employs the term the shaleach in reference to his hair, he is using the word in the sense of growth and intends to become a Nazarite. And that's from Tosfot, Rabbeinu Todra cited in Shita Mechubeses. It is explained in Shita Mechubeses that although shalua is often used in the Torah to mean removal, that is the case when the word is used in the context of living creatures. The discussion here pertains to the word shalua when it is used in other contexts. It grows, consequently the verse is referring to growth by means of water. The Mishnah taught that if one says, an obligation is hereby incumbent upon me with regard to birds, Hare alei siporon, Rav Natan of Hayeshiva cites an alternative version of the text in his commentary to the Mishnah. An obligation is hereby incumbent upon me with regard to nails, Sipor Naim. According to this version, the speaker has vowed to grow his nails long. The idea is similar to that of the common version of the Gemara text. Since the verse mentions growing nails right next to growing hair, the implication of the statement is that he intends to grow his hair long as a Nazarite. However, it is difficult to reconcile this version of the text with the continuation of the Gemara. Rabbi Meir says he is a Nazarite, and the sages say he is not a Nazarite. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Meir? Rish Lakish said he accepted upon himself an obligation with regard to birds that are juxtaposed in a verse to hair. What does that mean? Siparon Semuchin Itseya. In the Jerusalem Talmud, it is Rabbi Yochanan who explains that the statement is considered a Nazarite vow due to the placement of the word birds in the verse in Daniel. The word eagles is a substitute term for a Nazarite vow, as hair is compared to eagles in the verse until his hair was grown like eagle's feathers. Since the verse continues and mentions birds, stating, and his nails like bird claws, birds are viewed as substitute for the original substitute term, which is eagles. The Tosfot claim that Rabbi Lakish's explanation is based not only on the juxtaposition of the words in the verse, but on a combination of that juxtaposition and the fact that an impure Nazarite must bring birds for its purification. According to the commentary on Nazir, the Gemara is referring to a case where one who took his vow as a Nazarite was passing before him, or as he was holding his hair. See the Rosh. As it is written, until his hair was grown like eagle's feathers and his nails like bird claws, and that's from Daniel 4:30. Since the verse juxtaposes birds with growing hair, it is understood that when this individual accepted an obligation with regard to birds, he was referring to growing his hair as a Nazarite. The Gemara explains the basis of the dispute. Rabbi Meir holds that a person associates the object of his vow with something that is juxtaposed to it in a verse, so that when he says it's incumbent upon him to bring birds, he means it's incumbent upon him to grow his hair. And the rabbis hold that a person does not associate the object of his vow with something that is juxtaposed to in a verse, and the individual does not mean to take a Nazarite vow. Rabbi Yochanan said, everyone agrees that one does not associate the object of his vow with something juxtaposed to it in a verse. Rather, this is the reason of Rabbi Meir. We are concerned about having to accept upon himself the birds of an impure Nazarite. What does that mean? Sipor Nazir Tamei. According to the Torah in Numbers 6:9-12, when a Nazarite becomes ritually impure through contact with a corpse, whether intentionally or not, he must first purify himself. He then brings 2 pigeons to the temple as offerings, one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering, as well as a lamb as a guilt offering. Afterward, he must start his Nazariteship over again. Since an impure Nazarite must bring 2 birds as offerings if he inadvertently becomes impure from a corpse, Numbers 6:10, when an individual accepts upon himself an obligation pertaining to birds, he means he is becoming a Nazarite and will be responsible for bringing an offering of bird if he becomes impure. The Gemara asks, since Rabbi Yochanan said that even according to Rabbi Meir we are concerned, the Gemara's question is as follows. According to Rabbi Yochanan, his vow is not necessarily a Nazarite vow, Rather, it is uncertain whether he intended to take a Nazirite vow or a different vow. Since a Nazirite vow must be expressed clearly, as explained in the Gemara in 34a, why is this considered a Nazirite vow? And that's the commentary on Nazir. Another explanation of the Gemara's question is, since a Nazirite vow includes many more stringencies than a vow to bring a gift offering, it should be assumed that he meant to accept the less stringent vow, and that's from Tosfot. Alternatively, there is a principle that one is lenient in case of uncertainty with regard to Naziriteship from the Rosh. Other commentaries explain the question in the following manner: since it is not clear from his statement whether he intended to become a Nazirite or to bring gift offerings, he should be required to fulfill both of the vows. That the individual intended to become a Nazirite, but it is not clear that this was his intention. It can be argued that perhaps he accepted upon himself a gift offering of birds as a burnt offering. Consequently, why is he considered Nazirite? The Gemara answers, if it was so, that his intention was to bring a gift offering, he should have said, it is hereby coming upon me to bring a nest. The term nest was typically used in reference to voluntary bird offerings, which is why the tractate that deals with this topic is called Kinnim, which means nest. If the individual intended to obligate himself to bring a voluntary bird offering, he would have used the standard terms. And Tosfot, the Rosh adds that since there is a principle that vows are interpreted according to the vernacular, and people generally call voluntary bird offerings nests, it cannot be assumed that he was referring to a voluntary bird offering when he did not use that term. It is explained in the Jewish Talmud that the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah maintain that although the individual cannot be assumed to have been referring to a voluntary bird offering, it may be assumed that he meant to donate birds to the temple treasury. This is in accordance with the principle found in the Jewish Talmud that vows are interpreted according to the language of the Torah, and that's from the Tziyun Yerushalayim. That the individual intended to become a Nazirite, but it is not clear that this was his intention. It can be argued that perhaps he accepted upon himself a gift offering of birds as a burnt offering. Consequently, why is he considered a Nazirite? The Gemara answers, if it was so, that his intention was to bring a gift offering, he should have said, it is hereby incumbent upon me to bring a nest, which is a common expression used to accept an obligation to bring a gift offering of birds. The Gemara asks further, but perhaps he was saying, it's incumbent upon me to bring the birds of a leper. The Torah prescribes the use of two birds in the purification ceremony undergone by a cured leper or by the owner or previously leprous house. In Leviticus 14, 4-7. 4-50. Both these birds must be alive, unblemished, non-undomesticated, and a form of kosher species. The general practice was to use a kind of sparrow. One of the birds is slaughtered over an earthenware vessel filled with spring water, and its blood is drained into the water in this vessel. The mixture is sprinkled on the cured leper or house. The other bird is dipped in the mixture of blood and water and set free. The second bird is not considered sacred. If it is captured after being set free, it may be slaughtered and eaten or used for any other purpose. What was the other footnote there? An explanation of the Gemara's question is that he might have intended to bring two birds and offer them in the manner of a leper's purification ritual, commentary on Nazir. However, most commentaries maintain that he is meant to obligate himself to bring bird offerings in order to exempt the leper from having to bring his own bird, and that's from Tosfot and Meiri. Some explain that the Gemara is not suggesting that he should be required to bring only an offering of leopard's birds. Rather, in addition to becoming Nazirite, he should be required to bring an offering of birds, and that's from the Rosh. Rendering himself liable to bring a leper's offering on a leper's behalf, see Leviticus 14:4. The Gemara answers, this is a case where a Nazirite was passing before him when he spoke, and he clearly had Naziriteship in mind. The Gemara asked, but perhaps it was an impure Nazirite, and he was saying that he accepted upon himself to exempt the Nazirite from his offering by sacrificing them on the Nazirite's behalf. The Gemara answers, this is a case where a pure Nazirite was passing before him. Because of that, even if a pure Nazirite passed by, the speaker might have intended to bring the bird offerings in place of the Nazirite in the event that the Nazirite became impure. The answer that this is a case where the speaker explains that he meant to accept Naziriteship upon himself. Today, the further difficulty of the speaker is asked to clarify his intention. Why is it necessary for Nazirite to be passing before him when he mentions birds? Tosfot answered that one statement must accurately reflect one's intention when he accepts Nazirite. However, Tosfot also cited the opinion of Rabbeinu Peretz, who contend that the answer cannot be that the speaker is asked to clarify what he meant, since this requirement is not mentioned in the Gemara. Rather, it is not assumed that he would be referring to the bird the Nazarite would have to offer if he were to become impure. Since one does not accept upon himself an obligation that does not yet exist, this is not similar to the discussion concerning the bird of a leper, since it can be assumed that there is a leper somewhere who is already in need of them. The Gemara answers, there is a practical difference between them in a case where he explicitly said, an obligation is hereby incumbent upon me with regard to the birds juxtaposed in the verse to hair. According to Rabbi Yochanan, although he said this, if a Nazarite was passing before him, yes, Rabbi Meir considers it a Nazarite vow. If not, no, it is not considered a Nazarite vow. Conversely, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, although no Nazarite is passing before him, Rabbi Meir considers it a Nazarite vow. As he holds according to Rabbi Meir, one associates the object of his vow, some just opposed to it in the verse. The Gemara asks, is there in fact anyone who says a person does not associate the object of his vow with something just opposed to it in a verse? Isn't it taught in a Brisa that in the case of one who says right, yamin, apparently the connotation is influenced by the root of the word, since the root yud mem nun is similar to the root aleph mem nun, which indicates faith, trustworthiness, and proper conduct. The connection between right and righteous is also found in other languages. In light of this, one who merely employs the word yamin in accepting an obligation has thereby expressed an oath, as this term connotes acceptance with faith. That is an expression of an oath. What is the reason for this? It's not because it is written, when he lifted up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven and swore by him that lives forever in Daniel 12:7. It seems evident that the term right indicates an oath merely because in the verse it is juxtaposed to an oath. The Gemara rejects it, say no. It is because the right hand itself is called an oath, as is taught in the Bible. From where is it derived that in the case of one who says right, that is an oath, it is an oath? It is derived from the verse where it is stated, the Lord has sworn by his right hand, Isaiah 62:8. In other words, it is as though God has sworn by something. Is that the right footnote? In other words, it is as though God has sworn by something that can be used as an oath in his right hand. Is it considered a sacred article, like one who swears by the Torah or any other sacred item? The Ravid learns from here that if one takes an oath using the words by the right, without intending to refer to God's right hand, the oath is not effective. The other commentators maintain that the term right itself indicates an oath, even if one does not intend to refer to God's right hand. And from where you say that? From where is it derived that in a case where one says left, that is an oath? One who uses the term right has uttered an oath, and the same applies to one who uses the term left. The Ramah writes, citing the Torah and in the contrary opinion of the Ravid, that this is the case only if one had in mind the right hand and the left hand mentioned in the verse. God has sworn by his right hand, Rambam Sefer Hilchot Shavua 2:6, Shulchan Aruch Yodeah 237:8. That is an oath. It is derived from the continuation of that verse where it is stated, by the arm of his strength, Isaiah 62:8. Since this is the complementary phrase, the right hand, it must refer to the left hand. It is clear from here that both the right and left are themselves expressions of an oath, and do not indicate an oath merely because they are juxtaposed in a verse to expression of an oath. Final Mishnah. If one said, I am hereby a Nazarite, and therefore will refrain from grape seeds, Hareini Nazar min if one said, I am a Nazarite and therefore I will refrain from grape seeds, or I am a Nazarite and therefore I will refrain from grape skins, or I am a Nazarite and therefore refrain from impurity, or I am a Nazarite and I will therefore refrain from shaving, then he's a Nazarite, and all the halacha of his Nazarite apply to him. Even if he intended to accept only one of the prohibitions of Nazarite, he becomes a Nazarite in every sense. And that's in the Rambam Sefer Hilchot Nazirut 1:9. Or I am hereby a Nazarite, and therefore I refrain from grape skins, or from shaving, or from impurity. He is a Nazarite, and all these Nazarite are incumbent upon him. It is right that it was necessary for the Mishnah to specify this, because the Mishnah already discusses a halachot of a permanent Nazarite on a Nazarite like Samson, and not all the details of Nazarite applied to the latter. The Mishnah here therefore states that in the case under discussion, all the halachot of Nazarite are in effect, despite the fact that he has mentioned only one aspect of the halachah of Nazarite, and that's in Tosfot in the Rosh. Not only does the prohibition he mentioned take effect, he is bound by all the strictures of Nazarite. The Gemara comments, the Mishnah is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Rabbeinu Todros explains that Rabbi Shimon similarly disagreed with the rabbis concerning one who says, I am hereby a hair cutter, since he is referring only to the prohibition against hair cutting. Most commentaries disagree. However, he holds that one who says, I am hereby a hair cutter, intends to accept the Nazarite, since he does not say that he will curl his hair, but that is becoming a hair curler. His point is that he intends to be like a Nazarite, who is someone who curls his hair. Rabbi Shimon disagrees only in a case where one explicitly states that he accepted upon himself just a single aspect of Nazarite, or indicated by Jewish Talmud and the Rosh says, as is taught in the Bible, the Rabbi Shimon says one is not obligated. Eino chayav. In some commentaries explain that Rabbi Shimon does not hold that the statement is entirely meaningless. Rather, the speaker has taken a regular vow to render grape seeds forbidden. This vow takes effect, but is not a Nazarite vow. The Meiri, Rabbi Abraham Minhaha, as a Nazarite, until he vows that all items that are forbidden to a Nazarite are forbidden to him, and the rabbis say even if he vowed to abstain from only one of them, he's a Nazarite. The Gemara explains, what is the reason of the opinion of Rabbi Shimon? The verse states with regard to Nazarite, all the days of his Nazarite he shall not eat from anything that is made of the grapevine, from pits to grape skin. Numbers 6:4. What does that mean? From pits to grape skin. Once the verse states from anything that is made of the grapevine, the phrase from pits to grape skin is unnecessary. Rabbi Shimon derives from this seemingly unnecessary phrase that just as one is a Nazarite only if he accepts all the prohibitions associated with grape products, one is Nazarite only if he accepts all the prohibitions of Nazarite. However, one does not have to specify all the relevant prohibitions, as one who simply I'm a Nazarite is bound by all the aspects of Nazarite. It's only in a case where he goes into detail that he must specify all the prohibitions of Nazarite, says the Rosh, which indicates that his vow of Nazarite must include all the prohibitions of a Nazarite. The Gemara continues to clarify, and according to the rabbis, what is the reason that he becomes a Nazarite even if he specified only one of the prohibitions of a Nazarite? The verse states, and he shall abstain from wine and strong drink, Numbers 6:3. This implies that even if one vows to abstain only from wine and strong drink, all the halachot of a Nazarite take effect. The Gemara asks, and also according to Rabbi Shimon, isn't it written that he shall abstain from wine and strong drink? The Gemara answers, Rabbi Shimon requires that verse to prohibit a Nazarite from drinking wine that is consumed for a mitzvah, just as he prohibited from drinking wine whose consumption is optional. The Gemara asks, what is wine that is consumed for a mitzvah? Is it wine of Kiddush and Havdalah? A Nazarite is prohibited from drinking wine in the performance of a mitzvah. Consequently, it is prohibited for him to drink the wine from Kiddush or Havdalah. Rambam Sefer Hilchot Nazirut 7:11. That comes to the end of the Daf. Thank you for listening. I hope this was clear, and wish you all the best and peace in Israel. Take care. Bye.